And we are live again. Happy Friday, TGIF. It is Friday. We are finished with the week. I actually had my days all confused last week because we are back with another exclusive reality check conversation here on a Friday. You guys know we're usually on Mondays, but because we had such a great comment and a very special guest today, we had to come to you on Friday. I hope you got a chance to see our conversation with Cynthia Bailey earlier tonight. Cynthia was a lot of fun. And I know some of you have been waiting for this conversation. Love and Marriage Huntsville is hot this season. Hotter than ever. Hotter than ever. And we have one of my favorite girls from the show. She's actually the level-headed one from the show, I think. We are going to welcome Kimmi Scott to Reality Check. Welcome.
Yay! Hey, how you doing?
I am good. Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday. Thank you.
Yes. How was your week?
This week was a little tough for me. I actually lost a family member this week. So
wow.
It's been a long week, but we're kind of coming around.
Yeah, well, we're sorry to hear that. And I appreciate you hanging out with us. I have talked to you guys every season,
Yes.
but usually I have to talk to you guys in a group. And I'm always like, I want to talk to them individually. So I've got a chance to talk to Melanie, but this is the first time we're having you by yourself. So welcome. The floor is all yours. You don't have to share the conversation at all.
I like that. I'm a talker.
I love it. I love it. Now, in addition to what you do on the show, you actually are an essential worker. We know that we see that you work for a hospital, caring for patients, and I'm sure this has been a difficult time. This entire year has probably been really difficult for you outside of what it normally would be. What are you seeing at work? Are you still dealing with a lot of coronavirus issues or COVID issues at the hospital?
Well, I actually do home health.
Oh, wow.
So I don't actually work in the facility, and I'm the executive director. So the staff go to people's homes, which at the end of the day, I think that's just more crucial than even being in the hospital.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea who came or who went before you and what they had, what they touched, what they didn't touch. And so a lot of what I have to deal with is just the emotional balance of making sure your staff is safe, making sure your patients, because in the home health arena, most of our patients are elderly. And those are some of the most high-risk patients when it comes to COVID. And I've been here through Ebola, H1N1. And so this is like something we've never seen. It's just something we've never seen. And the proper precautions just have to be made. You don't want to get your family sick. You don't want to bring it home. You don't want to do all of that. It's just been surreal. It's been surreal to believe that something to this magnitude can happen in the United States of America.
I think we're all kind of reeling from that. I know all about home health. My mother was a home health nurse most of my time growing up. And I know how much those families, if there's an elderly a mom who took care of older people, how they really rely on that person. And that person becomes like their family. Yeah, it's really, really an important job. And I know that people have been telling you thank you, but we just always want to give people their roses. So we appreciate that work, especially right now, you being an executive director and making sure that your staff are able to do what they need to do for those families. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you guys are, first of all, I just want to exhale for you. There's some. Can I say that? I'm just like, whew.
Listen, when I knew this was 30 minutes, I said, okay, let's give me a little drink, get my mind right.
Girl.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's life. It's a lot in his life.
And I think that's why people love the show, because it really is. I mean, Carlos King is genius in this show because you get a chance to see real people dealing with real things, marriage, divorce, issues, blending families, getting along with your in-laws. It's the stuff that all of us are dealing with. And we're watching you all so that we don't have to think about what we're dealing with.
Right. Right. It could be a little better or a little worse, but everybody somewhere usually has a little snippet of this going on in their world.
Absolutely. Well, I told people to tune in with their drinks We are being sponsored by Seagram's Escape. I wish I could have sent you, if I had more time.
Oh, word.
Sent you
That's
some.
Cynthia's drinks.
Yeah, Cynthia's drink. It is, let me see if I can get there in the camera. And it's peach Bellini, which is great because I don't have time to mix. I prefer just to stick this in the refrigerator, but it's amazing. So try it if you get a chance. The next time we have you on, I will send you some because this is great.
Yeah.
It's a great.
Cynthia Bailey, I need some of that peach Bellini.
Yeah, we had her on earlier. Next time we have to make sure we supply it to all our guests because we may need it to get through this conversation.
Listen.
So I'm gonna play this clip. And then we're going to talk about how this season has started off for the Scotts, all of them.
I was upset.
About being sanctioned?
Well, about sanctioning my mom because I'm like, we're family.
But family needs to know how to act with family.
So it was a sanction. Kimmi didn't invite her because of the nature of what was probably going to happen with that group.
I just felt like when she first came in, what Kimmi said to her was rude. Now I know that if Kimmi invite me to something, I just can't automatically assume it's okay for me to bring somebody else with me.
Or give me a text. But that's just general ethics. You're not supposed to bring other people.
So but can I bring my kids with me without sending a text? That's okay, right?
Sometimes no. Sometimes no.
It's respectful to say, I'm going to bring an extra person. It's also respectful that if someone comes in, you greet them properly. So we have two infractions, and we can both own those.
Absolutely no.
We can say
Listen to what I'm saying. First of all, the opportunity for conversation came up after she arrived. Am I not correct?
No,
we wouldn't have had conversation if she wasn't there.
That's true.
She wasn't invited.
That's true. That should not justify you saying, I'm going to be rude to you if you come.
I didn't say I'm going to be rude. I said Marcel and Tisha must have invited you. If you take that as rude, as opposed to a
you
fact.
You took it as rude, too.
The way you just said it, just even now, it was kind of...
She was right for being upset.
You can be right someplace else other than my son's celebration.
Oh, and now you...
that.
Okay, now before we get into the clip, because I realize there may be some people watching that don't know, that didn't see what led to that clip.
Agreed.
So can you explain what happened at your son's graduation party that led to this conversation that we just witnessed?
So everybody is aware that because of COVID, a lot of graduation ceremonies were actually canceled. And so Maurice and Jalen were two of those people who graduated. Maurice from law school and then Jalen from college, which is a big deal. Maybe not to you, but to me, it is. He graduated 4 years on time, every accolade I could give him. And so I wanted to have a couple of celebrations. Now, to be fair, we had several because of COVID. We couldn't have a big one, so we had a couple small ones. This one was for our business partners, so to speak, who had supported Jalen. And so I invited everybody. They came. We were actually doing fair, getting along for this group. And I had a surprise guest, and it was Wanda. And so Tisha had invited Wanda in the guise of family. I figure if it's a family event, family can come, but it wasn't a family event. It wasn't family. And I knew that she had exception to Mel and Martell anyway. And so I just didn't think that was the best arena for everybody to get together because I wanted the focus to be on Jalen. And it couldn't have been 10 minutes that she was there and it was zero focus on the graduation people. Zero. So things actually got heated and words were exchanged, and Maurice and Jalen and I actually left this celebration.
Your own celebration.
Yeah.
You had to leave.
Yeah.
So that happened. And then after that, you had a conversation. You have a conversation with Marceau or with your husband, the fact that maybe from now on, Miss Wanda should not be automatically invited, correct?
Well, the fact of the matter is she's never automatically invited. Like, I feel that I was raised in an environment where if you're the invitee, you don't become the inviter. That's just rude. I mean, and that's just, I mean, and Tisha's not the only person I've had that I've had that conversation with other friends. Like if I invite you to my house and somebody says, where you going? Say, I'm going out to dinner. I'll catch you tomorrow. You don't have to say, I'm going to Kimmi's. You want to come? So I just don't believe that the invitee should in turn be the invitee. So for the things that I would like her at, that I feel that everybody in the room is going to get along, then she's welcome to come. Like for me, if the hosts weren't there, I don't have any issue with her being there. I can handle Wanda. I'm okay with how she feels for me. I just didn't want her in the environment with the hosts at that moment.
Right. Well, our audience thinks you were 100% right. I was happy to see you stand up for that, because I feel like from the first 2 seasons, especially last season, I can tell you're level-headed, and sometimes you don't, you kind of let people do what they're doing, right? And it doesn't seem like you really call them on their stuff, because you're like, I know she's dealing with a lot. I think we've seen the other ladies, both Melody and Letitia, have, been dealing with different issues. And I think you have a lot of grace towards that and don't really, zero in. But I do think that you were 100% right. That is, I don't even understand. And maybe you can help us understand, why do you think Letitia would think it was okay to invite her mother when she knows we've seen her mother do that all for since we were introduced to her? So where do you think that comes from?
Well, even though we've seen Wanda, we've also seen Tisha say, I can't control my mom.
Yeah.
And if you're going to stand by, I can't control my mom, then you also can't bring her to places where you can't control her. Quite frankly, as you see in the clip, when she said, well, can I bring my kids? I'm for real. It applies to your kids too. If you can't control your kids, they can't be ripping and running through my house either. So,
that's true.
So,
and some events just are not for kids. And I was thinking to myself, like, I've got, good friends, and if you invite someone in, especially a mother, because mothers are different. If I'm gonna bring my mom, okay, cool. Or let me make sure we're prepared for that. Or that is definitely, I think, the polite thing to do. But I also don't think Letitia is just a non-polite person. I feel like she just seems to have a lot happening, and she also seems very family oriented, right? She seems very connected to her mom. Even the conversation, and I'm not gonna lie, Kimmi, I was laughing to myself, and I think probably other people were as well, watching her talk to you about moving into Scott. Into a community where you guys will have access to each other all the time.
This kind of access. This kind of access. Like, you don't even have to get in your car to come over here and harass me up a little bit. But this is the funny thing. I'm Aquarius. And so at the end of the day, there's just times I'm all right with being by myself. Like, I just don't want to be that close to most anybody. Right. And it's not necessarily a Scott thing. It's just that when I'm ready to get away, I want to be able to get away. I just do. And as you can see, sometimes I end up in stuff that I don't even understand how it's stuff. Right. Like, I just don't even understand how it's stuff. Right. So, yeah, I'm not with the whole community cul-de-sac. It
was cute. I was like, she does not. I can't. I'm not gonna lie. I am a Libra. We have a lot of similarities with Aquarius. I just sometimes need my space. And especially when you have a family that is very intrusive. I don't mean that in a negative way, but just people have different boundaries, right? So my boundaries may be different than your boundaries. So if I set myself over here, then we have to abide by those boundaries. Correct. Another big issue, to me, the first 2 seasons, the ladies' friendships were basically compromised by the trouble that was going on in Melody and Martell's marriage. That continues to be an issue because it's playing out. Even that situation with her mother was her mother confronting Martell about his marriage, which is really not her place. But I can understand most people are very vocal and have an opinion about that. Do you think that first of all, because the husbands are all friends, is there a way for you guys to truly be friends and be comfortable with both sides of that marriage right now?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, only because I've said on other interviews, it's funny. A comedian said one time, when your friends divorce, who gets the friends? Like, how do you divide up the friends? You divide up the house, the cars, but how you divide up the friends?
Right.
Martell had a conversation with Destiny where he said, I've known you longer. Like, I've known you 23 years. We met them at the same time. Like, I don't have that I know you longer than this or longer than that. However, at the moment, Martell's deficiencies are just stacking up. Martell's deficiencies are stacking up, and you're like, oh, you just can't be my friend like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so you look at, some of the outcomes of things. I think the guy's propensity to get along, I think it's a pretty good odd that may happen. And if that does happen, I think it helps gel the collective. But it's hard to say. Like, I asked Mel if she thought it was okay for Martell to come to the Jalen's thing, just because I didn't want any foolishness. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm just not sure. Because I thought at the beginning that the separation was amicable, and they had kind of, it's all good. And now it just doesn't seem as amicable. And those are the ones where you start to have tension, like in the friends and, that kind of thing.
In that same vein, like, what's the difference in your mind between holding friends accountable? Because, you want real friends that you can say you were wrong, and friends accountability and saying, okay, this may be unhealthy for my relationship, because it seemed like some of their drama is not necessarily you and Maurice. You guys have stayed out of that, but it seemed like some of their drama kind of spilled over to Marceau and Letitia. So at what point do you say, my friend, you're wrong, but I'm here for you, I still love you, or you're wrong and I got to move away because this is causing an issue? Where do you think that line, falls?
That's a good question. I would say, in all fairness, Maurice has probably been the most consistent friend to Mel and Martell as far as communicating with them on the phone about their separation and how to fix it or not fix it and move on. That's a good question. I'm not sure where that line finally comes. In my head, before them, my definition used to be things like, if you physically hurt my friend, if you physically hurt my friend, I'm good with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good.
Right.
Irreconcilable differences. You emotionally hurt her, but you physically hurt. You know what I'm saying? So different people kind of view those things different ways, very different ways. Right. I would never want my friend to have to go through something that Mel has had to go through for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
Any infidelity on any level is hard to deal with, but the amount of time she's had to deal with that just shouldn't be wished on anybody.
Right.
Like anybody. So it's not like me and Martell like hung out. So I think the only people that would really fall on would probably be the guys. Yeah. Because they're friends, they're friends.
Right. That, and it's funny because I had Martell on and I asked him how different he thought the situation would be if it was reversed. Right. And I think the guys are all kind of, you guys are in Alabama. They all kind of have, Maurice less than the other ones, that slightly chauvinistic type. This is what a man does and this is what a woman does, and it's different. So I asked him if it was Melody that did what you're doing or what you've done, and he couldn't even imagine it, right? So I'm wondering, do you think the guys, meaning I guess Marceau and Maurice, would be as encouraging if Melody was the one that had been, cheating on Martell the whole time, and you were still right? Yeah, I didn't think so.
I just think in society, people look at women cheating differently because I think by the time women cheat, they're vested. You know what I'm saying? They're vested. And so it's a whole deal, not most of the time. I'm not saying all, but most of the time,
Right.
It's a whole deal. And I think men in a whole have a hard time dealing, their ego has a hard time dealing with the fact that their woman, their wife, their significant other went someplace else.
Right.
So no, I don't think it would be the same at all. Not at all.
I appreciate you being honest about that, because I could definitely see the guy saying, she got to go.
Yeah.
She got to go.
I don't see that at all.
Yeah.
No. And Maurice and I, when we first met, that was really a conversation that we had. In regards to that being a deal breaker of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And part of the reason I'm even with him is because we both verbalized, yeah, we're not going to do that. Like, I may not do some things that you want. You need to go ahead and go. Like, you can leave me. You don't have to cheat.
Right.
Like, you don't have to cheat. You can say, look, this is what I need. You're not giving it. So I think we should go our separate ways.
Right. In a perfect world. And I think people don't do that because they don't want to leave, but they also maybe aren't getting exactly what they need. Marriage is difficult. What have you guys done? Because we got a chance, the series opened, and we got a chance to see you guys actually get married on a beautiful yacht wedding a few years ago. How have you guys managed to keep your marriage? Because you guys had a little bit of a different situation because you're blended. You've been married before, so it's different than the other ladies. What have you learned about marriage since you guys have been married?
Hard. And it's a lot of compromise. Like, it's way more compromise than I gave it credit for as a single person. Because in my head, I figured I was a pretty together person. You know, I was financially stable. I had good credit, you know, so I like sports. I'm like a man's dream.
Yeah.
But it's always something that's just that little extra, that 80-20 rule that maybe you just simply don't have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it comes down to being in my opinion, for us, is being able to communicate. Maurice and I are very strong people. So when we first got together, that was probably our biggest problem, because we communicated strongly.
It's a nice way of putting it. The show is mostly women, and I think for the most part, you know, it's a lot of career women, a lot of women that were like you, strong, got your credit, got your business together. How did you manage to let him in? Because when you're by yourself, and I know you're a single mom raising your son, that's your focus. You got a lot going on professionally. What did you do to slowly let him in and let down some of that independence that you had built up over the years? Or have you let him?
Girl, he snuck in. He snuck in. But see, here's the thing. I think the longer I was single, the harder it got. Because you kind of get stuck in your ways, and you believe you've done a pretty good job. You know what I'm saying? You raised your kids, you kept a house, you had a car, you went to work, you feel like you've done pretty good.
Right.
So to have somebody come in and make suggestions about this, that, or the other thing, for me, I was looking for the fun factor of a relationship. You know, I mean, I had people that you saw or dated, went to lunch, went to dinner, but I wanted that everyday camaraderie. I wanted that everyday lay in the bed, wake up in the morning, how you doing? And he's a sweetie pie. Like, he fulfilled that need 100%. He fulfilled that need 100%. However, when we actually got married, it's more than just, you know, the rose-colored glasses. It's more than just to wake up in the morning. How you doing?
After the sun is in the sky, now we got to figure out. You live here and I live here. Can't nobody go.
He's gonna take out that trash. No, like, you know what I'm saying. So for us, I think we have a lot of really good building blocks as in our character.
Okay.
However, we have things that kind of make us bump every now and then. And we went to a counselor at one point. We took a personality test, and the lady laughed. I laughed because she said we're bumping because we're so much alike. We have so much of a lion character in the personality traits that the lions want to be leaders. They want to be in control. They want to make decisions. And so when you fight like a lion.
Right.
And so we had to learn how to communicate with each other to try to find a middle ground. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like I say stuff out of pocket that he doesn't care for, and he says stuff out of pocket that I don't care for.
Right.
But you say, I'm sorry. And you try to just move forward.
Yeah. Well, I think there is a narrative out that suggests women have to dim their light if they want to be in a relationship with a successful man. And I think you're a great example of the fact that that is not the case. You can continue to be just as bright and brilliant and a lion, and yet find a way to mesh with another lion, you know?
Agreed.
So that's a great testament to that. That's why I asked that question. How have you managed to do that? It does seem like you guys have slightly different opinions when it comes to parenting. And it's funny because you seem to be harder on the boys where he's softer, which usually it's reverse. So how are you guys working through that? And I know for myself, being a single mom, raising a son, I almost felt like I had to be harder on him because I didn't want him to be like the typical boy raised by a single mom. So how are you guys working through that?
It's a work in progress. We're blending a family, so you have to also take into consideration the actual parents when you're making decisions, and the bonus parents and everything. Even people who have children together have differencing of opinions on how to raise them. So I think this makes it just a little bit more tough for us. And there again, we find middle of the roads. At the end of the day, both of us came to this deal with a package. And to be fair, I think it's kind of like an unwritten rule that the final say is probably going to go to the actual parent.
Right.
And I mean, and literally, I'm saying this to you, and it's not something we've said out loud to each other. But I think somewhere in the back of our subconscious, it's just like, you know, somebody had DM'd me and said I was more submissive last season and I let Maurice do this, that, and I'm outspoken. And I said, no, you pick your battles. That whole issue was about his baby. And I'm not going to fight that. I said, this is baby. Like, this is baby. Yeah. So, you know, we're going to have to find a middle road. I said, this right here is my baby. I said, so the way he dug in last season, I kind of dig in this season.
Yeah.
So we have huge differencing of opinions when it comes to that. Because I've seen so many, in my opinion, African-American men who don't feel obligated to keep the household up. And that's always been a setback for me. You know, the guy who said I lost my job last week and now is 9 months later. And it's everybody's fault but your fault. And you know, the guy who doesn't have enough money to pay this month, can I borrow so-and-so?
Right.
And that's more of a motivation for me than differencing of opinion. I just didn't want my kid to be that kid. I wanted my kid to get up when he had a headache and take his ass to work. Right. I wanted my kid to, you know, if you don't have enough money to go out, go cut some grass. I'm gonna catch y'all on Saturday. I can't go today. I'm gonna cut some grass. So those were the things I was trying to instill, because I've just seen too many check writers, you know, helping people out. And any friend who's known me for any length of time knows I will try to help you before you're in trouble.
Right.
Because after you in trouble, I'm not about writing them checks. I'm just not about writing them checks. Like, before you get in trouble, holla at me. And I'm good with money. I'm great with money. So we have a little bit of differencing with that. I think as gentlemen, they could do more in this house.
That's fair. So what are the plans? What are your son's plans? I mean, obviously that's a huge deal, him graduating, and he seems to be a kind of take after you in that he's figuring it out. He knows what he wants to do. How are you dealing with kind of setting back and letting him make his own decisions and kind of grow into adulthood now?
You're parents, and parents do their best to sit back. You want to jump in, and I get that. But you got to let us make our own choices. I had to make some of mine. I fell down. All of them weren't the best choices. However, I think it made me a better human. As far as taking a couple dings and then getting it figured out. You know, even when I was pregnant with Jalen, I had 3 jobs, like 3 weeks before I was about to have him, because there were things I wanted him to have and I wasn't getting the support from his dad.
Right.
And so they're going to take their kids and they're going to take dings, and you'll get to see all of that play out this season.
This season. Well, that's my next question. We have people are you get a lot of compliments. A lot of people love you on the show and love the example that you guys are setting. Moving forward into what we're going to see tomorrow. What can you tell us? And I don't know if you guys have seen it or no, but this Halloween party. You looked amazing in your. I like the cop suit. I felt the
security.
Yeah.
Things been getting out of control in here.
Y'all need some security. Somebody needs to bring some control back. What can we expect tomorrow? And what do you, if you could sit back and kind of share, because a lot of our viewers are definitely love the show and are tuning in every week, you know, waiting to see what happens. What little sneak peek can you give us from what's coming up next?
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I don't see the show.
You don't see
I look forward to the show just as much as y'all do. Like, I can't wait for tomorrow to see what's going to happen. Now, you know, we all film separately and we do different things. So I can speak on my behalf. And on my behalf, you're going to be able to see us try to matriculate through Jalen graduating and trying to get figured out what he's going to do with his life, you know, and his career and that kind of thing. And you get to see more of Monster, you know, transitioning, you know, and hanging out and being down here. Of course, Maurice is still getting through law school and all that kind of stuff. And you get to see that. And so life just has to come together at the end of the day. Yeah. In the Halloween scene, we just keep talking about, you know, Wanda showing up uninvited. And I guess 2 wrongs don't make a right is the conversation Marceau was trying to have. I felt one wrong was bigger than the other. So I just.
Well, I'm
committed to that.
Yeah, I try to be as neutral as possible, but now I think that Marceau was trying to take up for his wife, which he's supposed to do. And so he tried to share a wrong with you, and you were like, no, that's not it.
I'm slick on that.
No, but you weren't wrong. I do think he was doing the husbandly thing and trying to have her back. And I genuinely like all of you guys, but I'm glad that you stood up and was like, no, you can't just bring someone to my, and then when they just, you know, and then say I'm rude for just saying, oh, I guess someone else invited you, because that really is what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
What has been the biggest surprise so far this season? I really was wondering, like, did Letitia really just sabotage you on her podcast? Did you know she was going to ask you about the embargo or the sanction on her mom, or were you totally surprised like you looked?
No, I was surprised. No, I was surprised. First of all, because I didn't think Marceau was going to go tell her like 90% of the conversation. I thought he was going to husbandly go to the house and woo, we need to have a talk. Let's go talk. Da, da, da. Right. So I really didn't think he was going to say all of that, because we all know that, you know, she should probably get upset. Yeah. Like the fact that she got upset wasn't surprising to me, because I know my sister-in-law. So I was surprised he told her. So yes, I was surprised she brought it up, and I was surprised she brought it up at the bucket.
Is this a part of the podcast?
I was like, what are y'all doing at these podcasts that I'm missing out on? Because I just don't get it.
Hilarious.
So, no, I was genuinely surprised that I knew we were going to have to talk about it eventually.
Yeah.
But I was genuinely surprised that happened at that moment.
Wow. Well, before we let you go, this is Reality Check. So I want to ask you one question. What would be the reality check, or that point of reasoning for people when you're talking about blending families, not just blending children, but also in-laws? What rule of thumb, or what key, I guess, principle would you suggest based on what you've learned and what you've gone through with not just the show, but just in life?
I think my biggest rule of thumb when it comes to blending families is being respectful of all the parties involved. Because at the end of the day, the goal is the child.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned is that a lot of us put what we want in the picture as opposed to what's best for the actual child.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're hurt, you know what I'm saying? When you're hurt, when you feel some kind of way, when you're in your feelings, a lot of times we focus on us as humans.
Yeah.
As humans, we focus on us. But if we can take that focus off of ourselves and put it on the children where it belongs, a lot of these decisions aren't really that hard.
Yeah.
Like they're really not that hard if you actually say, I wonder which case A or B is going to be better for the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big grown-up step. That's a big pull your panties up kind of thing that you have to take into consideration when you're blending families.
Yeah. If you could give us one word, I'm going to say each couple, you just say the first word that comes to mind.
Ooh-wee.
First word comes to mind for each couple. I'll start with you and Maurice, Kimmi and Maurice.
Funny, happy-go-lucky, just kind of doing their thing.
Okay. All right. Marcel and Letitia.
Builders, boss.
And last but not least, Martell and Melody.
In all fairness, So like originally, I was gonna say like when things were great, they worked together so good as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Like they work together so good, like at home, at work, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now that things aren't that great, I probably would say volatile.
Yeah.
Because you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when things were good.
Any hope at all that they could reconcile?
I don't know the answer to that. He's hurt her pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like I would say the average woman, no. Mel's a different kind of woman. Yeah. So I honestly couldn't tell you the answer to that. Mm-hmm. I wish for them happiness. Yeah. Whatever shape, form, or fashion Jesus has in store for that happiness to come down the pipe for them and their beautiful kids. Yeah. That's all I can wish for them. Yeah. But I don't.
Doing great. She looks amazing. She's singing. She got singles out. She's very admirable, and I think she's going to be fine either way. But that is good to hear. Let people know where they can, of course, tune in if they aren't already watching Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Listen, y'all have to follow me first of all on Instagram, Kimmi KIMMI_KLS. And I'll always tell you when the show is coming on. Same for Twitter, Kimmi KIMMI_KLS. And it's on OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network TV, 9/8 Central, every Saturday night.
Every Saturday. We'll be tuning in. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Friday night. We know that you've got lots of stuff going on, so we appreciate your time. And we'll be watching tomorrow. We'll definitely have to have you come back because obviously the season is going to have a lot more unfolding. So thank you so much. The next time we'll have to get you a drink.
Yes, I need that. All of that right back there.
All of that. Thank you so much, Kimmi. I really enjoyed talking to you. We'll see you next time.
Anytime.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
All right. And thank you guys for hanging out on a Friday night. I'm sure there's other things you could be doing, but this was a great conversation. Kimmi's so cool. Definitely tune in tomorrow night. I have no idea what's about to happen, but that whole Halloween party scene with Kimmi as a cop and Martell and Melody's brother dressed up as pharaohs. It looks like it's about to go down. So we'll watch that and talk about it next week. In the meantime, make sure you check out Reality Check Monday at 8. We got another great conversation. And then we're actually revealing some social media scoop is coming out on Monday at 8:30. So make sure you're hanging out with me then. I appreciate you guys all, and I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Whew. I'm gone.